People choosing convenience over kind of authentic relationships is a huge issue. What happens 20 years down the road with this convenience economy that we've built? If we just spend our whole lives indoors ordering things to our front steps, then we know that there's going to be a breakdown of society. There's going to be a breakdown of small towns.
In contrast with megatrends for globalization, efficiency, and convenience, there is a strong counter-movement for localism. This is especially true in regards to food. Generally, local foods programs focus on bringing food products from neighboring farms to our restaurants, our markets, and our tables at home. But our project, Fork to Farmer, focuses on leading the local foods enthusiasts to visit their neighboring farms and the farmers. In essence, we propose that foodies take the next step in their love affair with local foods by getting to know the farmers that devote their lives to produce these fresh, delicious ingredients that are used by our most celebrated farm-to-table chefs. We believe that Fork to Farmer is the next step in the evolution of the local foods movement. It de-anonymizes the farmer. It brings the farmer from the invisible to the visible, from the backstage to the front stage.
There's a part of society that just says, oh, they're just farmers. I've never felt like I wish I'd walked a different path. And I think part of it is I have 3 boys that I've raised on a farm that work as hard as they work and understand the benefit of working hard doesn't necessarily mean driving a Mercedes. Working hard has its own rewards.
When we visit farmers, the first thing perhaps that stands out is their deep knowledge of farming and the environment. But to me, the biggest takeaway that is inspiring is that these individuals are deeply value-driven. They're devoted to making a difference in society. They're devoted to growing healthy food for our communities. You're meeting these people that are idealists and they are intentional about their lives, about everything they do.
I've lived in North Carolina all my life, and I've been farming on this farm here for 23 years. I tell people all the time, I think farmers have got a bum rap, you know what I'm saying? And society, when I was young, they preached, go to school, get a 4-year degree. You know, everybody get a degree, you know. But I look at it, everybody's more important than the farmer. But you look at the essence of the whole thing, no one can survive without the farmer.
I have a strong environmental ethic. I think that we should preserve everything we can over the course of our lives. I think a lot of people don't really take that in consideration, be it using a lot of prepackaged food or driving their car unnecessarily. And I think instilling that in our culture is one of the most important things we can do.
I want to be assured that I can provide food for myself and for my community. I do have neighbors that come to the farm.
The skill set that we value here is commitment and willingness to understand accountability. And there is no, I don't feel like milking today or I don't feel like feeding today, that these animals rely on us for everything and we can't just put our needs first. I think it's that connection that so many people just don't have with their food that we are trying to bridge that gap.
I see my primary role as a chef as someone who is celebrating these producers. It's my job to make sure that their work is recognized.
We rely on the fact that we have a customer base that understands the importance of local. When you have an opportunity for people to buy local food, the next step is to actually get them to see where the food is produced. Part of the commitment to local is an education process. We bring people in and we can help them understand why it's important, and maybe it's more expensive, but why is it more expensive? And they can make the choices based on that, as opposed to walking into a grocery store and seeing a local food table that maybe local means the Southeast as opposed to 20 miles down the road. When a chef comes to visit me and takes the time out of their busy schedule, it validates my lifestyle choice. It validates my commitment to my product line. It helps me to understand that somebody else appreciates on a lot of different levels what I'm doing, as opposed to just expecting certain amounts of pounds of product to be delivered.
I couldn't do what I do if the farmers and producers were not doing what they do.
Through a collaborative relationship between a chef and a farmer, if a chef truly understands that that relationship can help that farmer to stay in business, there's great opportunity for the chef to also encourage patrons of the restaurant to go out to the farms and visit the farms, which can inspire that additional income through the farm visit itself, through direct sales of the farmer to the patrons on the farm, but it also can inspire that building of relationships between the consumer and the farmer.
There's this great opportunity with community of how restaurants can get involved. And then individuals who go to those restaurants, they don't have the time necessarily to research my farm or to understand how my farming practices are, but they can trust that restaurant and they can trust that chef to have done all that groundwork for them.
Wow. I love the roots, you know? Oops. There's dirt on there. So, you know, that's gourmet there, isn't it? I have been organic gardening for almost 40 years. I came to North Carolina from the mountains of Virginia and West Virginia. What I'm doing here is growing on a small scale in a very intimate way. For me to harvest, you know, I started early in the morning, and by the time I'm done and ready to go to town with my deliveries, I put in 6 hours.
The relationships between these farmers and the chefs that they supply is incredibly complex and brittle. So one of the things they do that they express is crucial to make their collaboration work is communication.
The best thing that we've done with a lot of our farmers is develop these consistent orders. Tom from Rise Up Rooted, who gives us all our greens, he knows that if he's got them, we'll take them, and we'll take X number.
Without the relationships that I have built, with Katie Button being an example of, you know, I wouldn't be able to exist without her support, because I'm so small.
They really collaborate with each other in a non-hierarchical, very level manner. They know that they are crucial to each other's success.
There are products that don't sell that well in farmers markets. If we can incorporate those products from the farmers, things that grow really well here in our area, then we can help them fill that slot and make some money off of those products.
Small businesses are important to our communities, and collaborative relationships between chefs and farmers can help both businesses to stay in business.
This business is 90% about the relationships that we have with our producers and our growers, and our mutual commitment to each other. And I think you only develop that by visiting someone else's house, so to speak.
I think that's the most important part of this business for me, is the building of the relationships with my clients. So when I go in there, it's not, you know, just me dropping off a box of greens. It's, you know, they recognize me, they know who I am, we chat, it's just not, here you go, here's the invoice, see ya.
That's the funny thing about our business, or our business is both the production of the raw product and the finished product on the plate, is that it does vanish, but what remains is it's the permanence of those relationships and those stories.
Agriculture is a connection to our heritage. Agriculture is one of the top industries, and in the state of North Carolina, it is the top industry. Farmers are very resourceful. They are the original entrepreneurs. They're trying to make it, and they're having to learn new things every day.
We always talk about the tiny margins of a restaurant, but I think that the margins of a small farmer are even more tiny. So I think that farmers have to be really creative in the ways that they make their ends meet.
Farming can be a relatively solitary experience, but by having farm visitors, there's more interaction with the public. And by having that interaction with the public, there may be also an increase in identity, in sort of raising your opinion of yourself because other people think you're fabulous because you're able to grow these things, and they understand all the methodology, all the research that you've done, and they appreciate it, and they're telling you that.
When people come out here and they're excited about what's going on, it rejuvenates me and makes me appreciate what I'm doing.
We get energized by having people who aren't familiar with what we're doing, who have become disconnected from the land, that actually get out here and help us get their hands dirty, help us move the cows, help us with the chickens. And you really see it in their eyes, how engaged they are, that, wow, people are doing this, this is really neat. And you just see them embracing it, and it's a whole new experience. They're here actually participating in seeing how the animals move from one pasture to the other. It really brings the chance for them to reconnect with the land, and that's, we find, very energizing for us as well.
It would be wonderful if the spotlight would get shown on farmers or other people in the industry. The products have to be prepared properly, and that requires a very talented, diligent farmer. We can only make things shine that shine themselves on their own. I feel like I do very little cooking and creating.
As a chef, I am passionate about working with ingredient and technique. I want to do as little as possible to the product because I like to respect it. I don't want to cover anything up. I want to enhance the product, not hide it. I believe our tastes have been so skewed. We've been inundated with salt, sugar, artificial flavor. Going back and changing our palates so that when we are hungry, we will crave something with flavor and not something that's just sweet or salty. That's why I think this movement is important for everyone.
I want to keep seeing the farmers markets doing well and people doing most of their shopping there and then going to the supermarket. We have to support the farmers in order to keep that going.
The dollar that we pay our local farmer will then circulate within our community rather than going to some other place, whether it's South America or even California, someplace other than home.
You don't realize how important it is to buy local until you're a small business owner yourself, and then you realize how important it is that you support the other people in the positions that you're in.
The more that we support our local farms, that supports our local economy. Chefs do understand the value of supporting local economies, because without our local farms, we'll lose our small towns, we'll lose our agricultural working land spaces. Small businesses depend on that dollar circulating locally. So your farmer is going to typically spend their dollar in the small towns, visiting the pharmacy, visiting the hardware store, visiting their own grocery store. And that's what we want to support to bring vibrancy back to small towns.
What we provide is a tie-in to all the other great things that are being done in Randolph County. All of us benefit from the energy that the visitors bring and that we provide back to them through a great experience.
The thing about Fork to Farmer is that it really emphasizes relationships. It's a new economy, really, an economy that's not just financial. We want them to value each other and care for each other, and they care about their place. If we try to think about success stories of what's really been a place that exhibits what we want to happen in the local food economy, we can think about Kinston, North Carolina.
Tobacco sort of paid all the bills when I was coming along, and then I raised my family on it, and it was a good thing for a long time.
We all kind of, in Eastern North Carolina, have this connection to the tobacco trade, both its rise and, ultimately its fall.
When agriculture changed, I think our economy changed drastically. And that is what, as farmers look for new ways to make money to replace the tobacco production, they were looking at foods that were maybe unique or could bring a good cash crop. And I think that all happened about the same time that folks started wanting to know where their food was coming from.
It became our goal to start trying to get local farmers who had once been tobacco farmers back into growing something, and the hope was that it would be produce or niche proteins or cheeses. I was asking if anybody had suggestions of folks that would be interested in growing something for me, and the same person's name kept coming up.
Every growing season, it's almost like rolling the dice. You don't ever know what you're going to get. If it hails and, tears a bunch of sunflowers down, I don't get as upset about it as I used to. I was like, what? But I've just kind of figured out it's just part of it. Bad things going to happen. Good things are going to happen. Here you go, boys. Sure. Look at that. Scoop on. They love a scoop on the ground.
Warren is someone who really finds joy in what he does, and that's something that I have observed about him and something I strive to glean from him.
The agriculture, the farm-to-table movement has made a huge difference in people that are coming and visiting and how they're enjoying our community. Because the experience for all of our visitors, whether they're coming for art or whether they're coming for Civil War history or just history in general or for baseball, they all have food in common. So they're all coming to that table together to enjoy the hospitality and enjoy local foods that are grown here in our area and that we've grown up with and we think of every day as just what we generally have. It's an experience for them that's different. So I think that's made a huge difference for us.
And I think also as the farmers created new crop industries, they are actually making more money, which means that they're selling more product, which means that businesses can thrive. I mean, they can come into town and spend money, and so people are providing businesses for where they can come spend money, which creates a greater economy in the downtown area, or in the whole county, really.
I don't think until recently anybody would have taken you in the backyard when they were making a fish stew and show you how they cracked eggs over top, because I don't think they thought it was interesting. I don't think they thought it was a worthy story. But those are the things that make this region so interesting. I don't think that people here necessarily understood that the way that we cook whole hog barbecue is incredibly interesting and unique, and that people from other places would find it earth-shatteringly interesting. I mean, they'll travel from, freaking Minnesota to come here and watch you cook chicken and rice with your mom. So I think a pride of place and a pride of understanding where you come from and who you are and what makes you unique what makes your place unique, and really being able to share those stories can interest people from elsewhere.
I think the Fork to Farmer movement is a creative idea, and I think it's an important one.
It matters because community matters. That is one of the huge losses in this country, and it's not just this country, it's around the world. We're all becoming so isolated. And having that connection to farming and agriculture and having the connection to the earth, it grounds us.
The closest that we can be with the earth, the more we understand and appreciate life.
I think there's a place for the convenience economy in everybody's lives. There are some things that you just need to buy quickly and cheaply and have them delivered to your door. But I think there's also a need within that we have the economy that's built on community and relationships and people.